Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today in this video I'm going to be talking about the UK housing market. We're going to look at some forecasts, some trends. I'm going to be focusing predominantly on the stamp duty holiday and whether or not that is going to be extended. I'll also be talking about the drop we've just had this month in house prices. So let's dive straight into it then. And if you haven't watched my UK housing market forecast that I published on the 22nd of November 2020, I'll just add a link in this video here. I'll also put it in the description so that you can go ahead and watch that. Just open it in a new tab or something like that, because that has been highly accurate so far, even though we're coming up to 2.5 months into that, alongside the forecast that I made earlier in 2020. They seem to be playing out pretty accurately so far, which I think is shocking a lot of people, because even a lot of the economists have got this wrong. They've been forecasting huge increases month on month, including over the winter months. I said we wouldn't, and that over December, January, we'd start to see this slowdown. We've now seen that slowdown. We have the data. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. At a time when, yes, there is high demand, but as we go into the new year, if that demand drops, which I believe it will, then what is going to happen is that we're going to have an oversupply added to the oversupply of houses. This is only going to bring house prices down further. So if you don't know much about the stamp duty holiday, this was enacted by the Chancellor, by Sunak, between July of 2020 and to expire on the 31st of March 2021. So we're within a couple of months, about 7 weeks now, of that expiry. And just this week on Monday, there was a big petition. So I think there was about 140,000 signatures on this petition, which forced a debate by MPs, members of Parliament, to have this debate about extending this stamp duty holiday past the 31st of March. Now, the reason for that is because there's roughly about 600,000 transactions going through at the moment. So these are sales or potential sales. And we believe that about 100,000 of these will miss the 31st of March deadline. Now, there's a number of reasons why there's this big slowdown. I put a lot of it down to the never-ending lockdowns, which just seem to keep going on and on and on. And we still don't have a definitive end date for these lockdowns that we're in. I've lost count actually of what number we're even in now. But the sector is simply overwhelmed with the number of transactions. We are up quite a lot in terms of transactions. We're even up 1/3, so around 33-34% in the number of interest in purchasing a home at present. So although there is a huge amount on the Chancellor to make a decision on this, he actually stood pretty firm during the debate, and at the end of the debate made his decision, which was that he wasn't going to make a decision until the 3rd of March. He basically said it would be inappropriate to comment on fiscal policy, which is different to monetary policy. So fiscal policy is governmental policy. Monetary policy is Bank of England policy. So they're very two different things. So he said it would be inappropriate to comment on fiscal policy outside of the budget. So the next budget is the 3rd of March 2021. So let me give you a prediction of what I think will probably happen on this budget. I think we'll probably have a number of these sales, these 100,000 that are looking to miss the deadline. I believe maybe 5-10% maybe will stop, or they'll exit the transaction process. That's pretty normal anyway, but I think a number will get cold feet. They'll think they're going to miss this and they may pull out. I would recommend those people not necessarily to pull out if you are absolutely adamant that you want to buy a house at the moment, because I think on the 3rd of March, if I were the Chancellor, I would look at the situation and say, this is nothing to do with the people. Right, it's not their fault that we're putting all these lockdowns in place and we've got all these delays and we've got COVID crisis and everything like that. This is not the people's fault. So it's not their fault that they should pay an extra £15,000 for some people on the purchase of their home if they miss the deadline. So this is what I would do, and this is what I suspect he will do. I think anyone who's already in the process and they started on whatever date, he'll probably give a set date. And it may be 4 months from March. So let's say it was the 1st of November, for example. I think he'll probably say anyone who entered the process from November onwards or December onwards, something like that, you will still be able to complete your transaction. So that would just be my best guess. Again, no one knows for certain. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people are saying that he's not going to do it. A lot of people are saying he will do it on the 3rd of March. No one knows for certain. There has been no definitive answer. But that would be my best guess of what I think may happen. So I think the 3rd of March is actually a very smart move by him, very strategic, because if you think about it, if the deadline is the 31st of March, and he's going to speak to us all on the 3rd of March, that gives 28 days, so a clear 4 weeks for those people to complete their transactions or for the deadline to extend. If you're getting value from this video so far, could you do me a quick favor? Just click the like button below. Just helps the video to get ranked. And why not subscribe if you're not already a subscriber? Thank you. So next, let me move on to just some of the economics around the stamp duty and what this is causing. So as I mentioned on my November video, the stamp duty holiday is definitely 100% pushing up house prices. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this is having an impact on house prices dramatically. So of course, if the holiday is extended again, we are going to see more increases in house prices. It really is that simple. But the other thing, let me just add this caveat. Remember on my last video, I said there's a number of things pulling down house prices. That's furlough, that's the foreign investor tax, that's Section 24. We've got a number of things all coming together at the same time in April that's going to pull down house prices. Now, just an adjustment on my last forecast, where I said we're going to start seeing things happening in April. I'm going to move that back to May now, very slightly, and here's the reason why. The furlough has now changed from the 31st of March end date to the end of April end date. So that's going to adjust the forecast very slightly. So we have this many things pulling it downwards, and then the furlough will just pull it upwards a very tiny bit. The other thing to understand with house prices in the UK as we move forward is that we're in a winter period anyway now. All these economists and forecasters are panicking because we've just seen a 0.3% drop in January on house sales. No one saw that coming. Everyone was saying we're going to see 1, 2, 3% rise in January and then more in February. I said quite the opposite. Very different from what I said from the USA. I do believe we're going to see rises in the USA, but with the UK house market, I said we're probably going to see a dip because we are very seasonal, especially in the UK. In that during winter, December, January, February, we always see lower prices than we do in spring and summer. Spring and summer is when our housing market heats up, and I believe that we're going to see a little bit of an incline during the spring and summer, which is offset against all of these other variables. So I'm not saying we're going to see an increase in prices, but what we are going to see is the spring and summer months pulling up a number of the variables for people who do still want to buy in the spring and summer. But I still believe we're going to see a downward spiral in the UK housing market, and this is as a result of all of the fiscal and monetary stimulus ending. So the fiscal stimulus is from the government, the monetary policy is from the Bank of England. I believe as the government dries up their fiscal stimulus, this is going to help to drive down the prices of UK property. If the Bank of England continues with more quantitative easing, which I believe they will, we've already seen huge, almost, it's unbelievable, more than 900 billion in quantitative easing. And here's the thing, the Bank of England, once they've done all this QE, they're supposed to then remove it from the market. So we have a free market and it isn't inflated. But they never do. You can just look at any of the graphs, look at what happened last time, look at the Federal Reserve graphs of the USA, which track the UK as well. The Bank of England don't remove this quantitative easing, these new assets that they're purchasing, and this is inflating the housing market further. For anything that's even indirectly linked to the housing market, this is helping to pull up prices. So we have got this really complicated market, and this is why the economists are getting it wrong. Because we have all this Bank of England, so monetary stimulus, we have the government fiscal stimulus throughout 2020 acting to pull up house prices. But now the government will start to reduce and the Bank of England is left to either continue or to stop. I believe they're going to do another quantitative easing, and I believe it's going to come very shortly, maybe before spring, maybe in the springtime, I'm not exactly sure. And this will probably help to pull up house prices yet again. So as you can see, there's so much uncertainty around this. I do believe long term we're going to see house prices coming down. But every time the Bank of England puts more and more money into the economy, this pulls up the price of assets, including houses. What does it do as a negative though? It pushes down the value of savers. So if you've got money saved in a bank account, the Bank of England, every time they do this QE, it destroys the value of your savings through inflation. So just another statistic around house prices this month. So of course we saw the 0.3% drop in house prices. This is also against a 0.9% drop from the previous month. And just to end on some of the mainstream media and commentators and the so-called experts in the housing market, I'm just going to look at a few statistics on what they've been saying now. In fact, a couple of these guys, I won't name them, who mocked my forecasts of a reduction around this time, who they said 3.5% and a 4% increase here. They've now done a U-turn and they are expecting a 2 to 5% fall in 2021. So you now have a number of the mainstream people, you have my forecast. Most people believe we're going to see a housing decline this year in 2021 in the United Kingdom of anywhere from 2 to 5%. I believe that is the minimum. I think we could probably see a lot more than that. But again, it all depends on the fiscal policy, the monetary policy. If these just completely stop and the Bank of England stop doing QE, this could be even worse than the crash of 2008, the housing crash there. I don't necessarily believe this would all come in 2021. These sort of things often take a little bit of time. We're probably going to start to see the decrease in 2021, but it all depends on how much the Bank of England pump into the economy. Because if people don't have jobs, they don't have furlough, they don't have anything to keep all of this going, and then the Bank of England start pulling the rug from under people's feet and not pumping money into the economy, all of the debts that we have is just going to start to deleverage, and it could play into a really bad situation with Europe, with the USA, with a number of countries all contracting at the same time. This has a domino effect. Again, I won't get too complicated into this video, but this really does have a domino effect in that certain countries and big investors start pulling money from all over the place. And this can really affect the housing market, especially if it affects the stock market. Everything is linked together in the bigger picture. So I'll leave it there today because I don't want to overcomplicate everything. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it really helped. Please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. But apart from that, thank you so much. God bless. See you next time.